Hey everybody, welcome back to Hawn's Hoon and Tune. This is episode 2. Hope you enjoyed that vet cart and Danger Ranger bit we did a little bit earlier. But now if you can't tell, today's theme is all about the 80s. Now look, I am a sucker for terrible things built in the 80s. Probably because I am one. Okay, my fleet includes that 1985 Corvette that we made the vet cart out of. It also includes a 1983 F-150. I have not one but two 1986 Pontiac Fieros, and then I have myself, a 1986 Underachiever. So I'm a sucker for all things 80s. However, today we're going to focus on this bad boy, a 1986 Pontiac Fiero GT. Now these things were absolutely plagued from the start. They're a really, really cool idea that was just very poorly executed by GM. And they only lasted from, if I'm not mistaken, like 1984, 85 to like 1988, 89. They didn't have a very long run, not a ton of them made, but they're actually pretty cool cars, especially for the build that we are going to do on this. So I'll take you through that in just a moment, but for now, let's talk really quickly about the Fiero. Now, check it out. It's actually as bad as it is. It's all the issues that it had. You know, they caught on fire from leaky valve cover gaskets onto the manifolds. They were very underpowered. They had terrible front suspension, but it's kind of a cool idea, right? Now, think about this. Even though, like, despite the fact that they are tiny, they are weak, they're pretty ugly, there's actually some potential here. But enough about me. The Fiero is a two-seater. It is a mid-engine, rear-wheel drive car. Super, super light because it uses a space frame. And then all the body panels are plastic, so the body panels never actually rust. Now, obviously, here in Wisconsin, we have to be very cautious about that when we're taking a look. I got to take these glasses off. This is ridiculous. Check out my mini mullet, too. We are full 80s. In Wisconsin, we have to be really careful about that sort of stuff when we're going to buy these things. I picked this up for $1,100. It doesn't run. It's missing some parts, but we're going to see what we can do with it. So we inspected the underneath of this car. The space frame looks to be in pretty good shape. The interior is mint. The cradle is pretty decent on it, and the front suspension seems to be all there. As bad as it is, it's at least there. Okay, so this is going to be a project car now moving forward for my auto students in the fall. What we're going to do is take this wheezy, terrible little 2.8-liter V6 out of it, and instead, we're going to put in an LD9 twin cam, which is essentially a GM Quad 4 with a little bit better injectors, and it has balance shafts on the inside so you can take it up in the RPMs a little more reliably. So that twin cam that we got out of a 2001 Grand Am will fit in here because this is essentially a front-wheel drive car that's just going backwards. It does have a transaxle. So we're going to drop that LD9 in, and that'll be a small power upgrade from this thing stock. Yeah, this 2.8 made about 140 horsepower. I think the LD9 makes about 150, which is a slight upgrade, but it still doesn't sound very fun. So instead, what we're going to do on top of that is build a programmable ECM so that we can control timing, we can control fuel, and all of that sort of stuff for us to control, and never mind smog emissions. And then Danny, my little brother, has a friend, a really cool dude, who donated to us, a friend of the show donated two Garrett 38 millimeter liquid cooled turbos. So we're going to put one of these bad boys on that LD9. Super cool of you to do, Taylor. The kids are geeked out about this. Thank you so much if you're watching this. So we're going to throw those one of those turbos on, run about 8 to 10 pounds of boost, and that should be a lot more fun. But again, that's for my students to do way off in the fall. Being it's still summertime, though, it did occur to me, I now have an entire transaxle setup in a Pontiac Fiero that I couldn't care less about. So what we're going to do, we're going to try to get this thing running, see if I can have a fun, dumb little putt-putt car throughout the summer, do some runs in it, get an idea of how this thing works stock, and then compare that to what the kids are going to do in the fall when they put that LD9, that programmable computer, the upgraded pump and injectors, and then the turbo setup on it. So that'll be a really fun thing. We're really looking forward to that. But this episode is about trying to get this crappy old engine running so we can have some fun. Obviously, this thing has some trouble, right? Take a look at the upper intake manifold plenum here. It's missing all of the bolts. There are no bolts around. I think somebody tried to do a little bit of fuel work on this, and it's missing all these bolts right here and in the back. Now, I did take a look already at the intake gaskets, and they actually seem to be pretty decent. So I think I'm just going to throw some M8 by 125 bolts in there, get that thing down, and then see if it can run. We also have a ton of spare parts here, and that's never a good thing. One of the things we see is a heater core. That always makes me nervous, makes me think it was leaking, got bypassed, whatever. So this might be a summer-only car if it doesn't have any heat. But first things first, I'm going to take a look at this 2.8. I'm going to see if I can get it to run, and then do some burnouts. All right, we got the intake manifold bolts all in, got them torqued down to specs, nice and solid here. Let's start this thing up. Let's see if it runs. Now, I have no idea how old this fuel is. It's probably turned back into a dinosaur at this point. Let's give it a rip, though. Good morning, Fiero. Popped a little bit, but the way it sounded, it kind of sounds like my timing's off. So let's take a look at this old distributor system and see if we can find out what's going on with the timing. So I might have figured out what's going on with the timing. I don't know, I haven't checked it yet, but I did a little research, and the way GM orders their cylinders is a little different than like Ford and Chrysler and stuff like that. So way up here at the front of the engine, the engine faces this way. Way up here at the front, the first offset cylinder is the number 1 cylinder, and then they go in an odd pattern from there. So they go 1, 3, 5, and then back here 2, 4, 6. Okay? Now if I trace this plug wire from the number 1 cylinder back to the distributor, it's actually on the number 2 port on the distributor. So I think somebody at some point in time, took all the plug wires out, maybe changed plugs or distributor cap or something. When they went to put them on, they put them on one notch back all the way around the distributor, which would definitely explain my timing troubles. So what I'm going to do is, as I traced all these back, they were all one notch off, so then I can safely walk this sucker around knowing now there's our number 1 cylinder, which means this is our number 3, this would be our number 5, and so on and so forth as I continue to walk these things around this distributor. So hopefully we can fix all of our timing errors and give this thing another go. Ooh, I also notice I can see right into the plug wire on this one, so plug wires are definitely in our future here. Man, it'd be so cool if I could get this stupid thing to run, though. If I can get this thing to run, fix all the other problems, we might be doing burnouts by the end of the day. So now, just to verify, I went online and I stole a diagram and actually just wrote it down exactly how it's supposed to go. And it's really easy, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, around the distributor cap, and then making sure that all of those made it up with the actual engine setup itself. So, just tracing some plug wires. Now, let's go ahead and give it a try this time. Hopefully that old dinosaur fuel will give it a go. Come on, Fiero, don't do me dirty. It runs! Yo! The exhaust sounds like crap, but yo! Gotta run in Fiero! Oh god, this is smoking. Well, something's on fire, but oh, I think it's the EGR. Something's on fire, but don't worry about that. This thing rules. The Fiero runs. Let's go. Now I just have to figure out exactly what else is wrong with this car and then go take it out and do some birdies, baby. How many of you have ever seen the underside of a Fiero? This thing sucks, but it's going to be a whole lot of fun. I found a lot of problems that are going to kind of stop us from doing burnouts right away, some things I got to fix. You'll notice here, the parking brake cable is detached and frozen solid. Obviously, don't need that to drive. It's just a fun accessory, but I am going to want to fix that and fix the parking brakes because I want to drift this thing eventually. Also, right over here, we have a massive brake leak. One of the lines, the steel lines going to the splitter block has rotted right through, so it's just shearing brake fluid all over the place. And speaking of leaks, I was really hoping that was engine oil, but it wasn't. It's transmission fluid, and that is just pouring out right where the transmission actually attaches to the engine right here in the torque converter area, which makes me think it might have a front seal leaking or something like that, so I'm not exactly sure on that. Plus, I also figured out exactly why this car sounds so terrible. Check out the exhaust system. catalytic converter cut out, replaced by a piece of just galvanized pipe, and then a couple of essentially homemade little sleeves that are muffler clamped onto that. Run back to this muffler that I can see through on the top, and then right here, this is awesome. Check it out. JB welded exhaust tips come right back onto this thing. I love this car. This is like the perfect car for me, man. This thing just speaks to me. So otherwise, the underside of it is actually pretty clean. Reminder, this whole cradle right here is going to come out when we put that quad 4 cradle in. But aside from that, it looks relatively decent and certainly workable. So I'm going to get to work on a brake line, on a trans fluid leak, on some of those other things, and see if we can still rip some Bernies today. So here we are now. I'm with my 2 younger brothers. This one is Danny. He's the one who built the Danger Ranger. This one is Dewey. He was the passenger in the vet cart with me throughout the race. So we're here now for our first test drive of the Fiero. We didn't actually fix the rear brakes because A, that would take a long time, B, I have no interest in bleeding brakes today, and C, I really wanted to try to drive this thing. So instead, we just gave it a little motivation to not leak, and that means moving up the brake line a little bit, getting a C-clamp on it, and just, kind of squeezing it shut, which isn't a good thing to do. Don't do that on public roads, but it's always good for a test drive of Fiero. So we're here now. We got the keys. I'm going to see if I can start this thing up, see if it runs, see how fast-ish it is, and then hopefully we don't catch this sucker on fire. If we do, gentlemen, the fire extinguisher is right around the corner in the shop.
You got it.
Let's give it a whirl.
All right.
Fiero, baby! Oh, the windows don't roll down, so if you need me to stop, yeah. Let's see what this bad boy can do. Fiero! All right. Well, as you can see, we might need a little bit of work with it, but it runs and it drives, and that's all we care about right now. So we're going to get to work on it, see what we can do, and hopefully make that Bernie a little bit better for you.
It sounds to me like we might have an issue with misfire, whether it's a clogged fuel injector or...
We definitely have fuel delivery issues. It could be because that fuel is older than the car itself. I don't know how that works, but it is. Okay?
Right.
It's definitely got some injector issues. I think it's still got some timing issues, and who knows what's underneath this car right now. So we'll get back to you on that. So there you have it. We're running on 4 cylinders. We've got fuel issues. We've got timing issues. We've got vacuum issues. We've got no brakes. It overheats. Our pets' heads are falling off. But it runs and drives, and that's a great place to start for an $1,100 Fiero. Stay tuned to the next episode where we try to get this bad boy actually running pretty decent, and we'll also take a look at exactly why the Danger Ranger decided to grenade in the middle of a national forest. We'll catch you then.